Hi,
Hi.
this is Katie Proctor, the owner of BwP Picks here in Portland, Oregon.
And this is the fabulous writer Douglas Wolk.
And there's comics that came out this week that we're so excited about.
We are excited.
The first one was a remarkably fun surprise. This is the first issue of the Clue Candlestick miniseries.
So I had no expectations for this book.
This is as in the board game Clue.
I have no attachment to the board game Clue.
I played the board game Clue. I got a bright purple sweatshirt that said Professor Plum did it when the movie came out long ago. This comic is by Dash Shaw. Dash Shaw is the cartoonist behind like the Bottomless Belly Button and Body World and amazing sort of experimental comics like that. And he's doing a Clue comic, and it's so much fun.
It's so fun. It is, it's very sort of formally attached to board games. It has a lot of sort of stylistic pieces that feel very board gamey, but it's set inside of a game of Clue. We start with an invitation to a dinner party when the introduction of a whole bunch of murdery artifacts.
These murdery artifacts, in fact.
Those specific rope and pipe and gun and wrench and knife and candlestick.
The wrench that supposedly fixed Albert Camus' car. Historically important wrench.
A lead pipe from ancient Rome.
Yeah. And we meet Colonel Mustard, who was part of a... What's Colonel Mustard's story?
I would...
Yes, each of the members of my force re-entered society with a code name based on a condiment because we wanted to be ubiquitous, only seen when actions required, and ultimately to blend in.
Yes. Colonel Mustard has some very notable last words you'll want to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good comic. And then there's a fabulous essay in the back by...
Tim Hodler.
Who is?
From Comics Journal.
About the history of the board game Clue and its media adaptations. And then there's some cards for you to use in your own game of Clue on the back with a promise that there will be more upcoming. So this has all of the characters and the aforementioned candlestick. Yeah, really fun. Pick up Clue. Who knew?
Really pleasant surprise. This week also, the collection of Friendo.
So Friendo, I have been reading since it started and absolutely raving about, and Douglas has been in a sort of, I'll get to it when I get to it mode.
And
so the trade came out today, so now you can pick up the whole thing, and so Douglas read the whole thing just this morning. Douglas, what do you think?
It's so good. It's so dark. It's so mean. It's so evil. It's so funny.
But it's very specifically mean.
Yeah.
And in particular, it is, it puts the target right where it belongs, and that is on the specter of late capitalism. Go ahead.
Friendo is specifically about this guy who gets an AI assistant in his glasses, and the AI assistant is evil. It is an evil AI assistant.
Who is specifically targeted to speak exactly to his needs and desires.
Yeah.
And then it breaks, and then it's a broken evil AI assistant, and that's when the fun starts.
Yeah. This is by Alex Packnadel and Martin Simmons, colored by Dee Cuniff. It's
letters by Taylor Esposito, really well done throughout. It's so dark.
It's super dark and super funny dark.
So yeah, evil AI assistant turns into reality show catastrophe. With corporate sponsorships all the way down the line, and no matter how bad the story gets for our heroes, there's always a corporation willing to back him up for money.
If you ever read American Flag back in the day, this reminds me a lot of that in tone, except it's even darker and meaner and smarter and more keyed in.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
So Douglas, you also spent a good part of your week, for your own reasons,
yes.
Reading Old West Marvel comics.
Yes.
Why were you reading Old West Marvel comics?
Well, I have this book club that's a book club for Marvel nerds. Douglas Wolk, Patreon.com/Douglas Wolk is how you get in.
I'll put the link on the screen.
Yeah. But pretty soon we've had requests to read some cowboys and superhero stories. So I was reading up on some of Marvel's old Western heroes, and what do you know? They all show up in this week's War of the Realms Journey into Mystery.
So this is the third in the War of the Realms Journey into Mystery series, which is by the McElroy brothers, and drawn by Andre Lima Arujo, colored by Chris O'Halloran, and lettered by Clayton Cowles. It's been a whole lot of fun throughout. It is a sort of all new, all different-y sort of team on the run with Freya's baby daughter charged with keeping her safe from the War of the Realms nonsense that's going on out there, and we're going to get away from it as much as we can. And in this one, we roll into a haunted amusement park / Old West ghost town.
Which, as Deathlocket mentions, is exactly her jam. And Thori, the murder dog that we met back in Journey into Mystery.
Thori's the best.
Thori is the best, is really into it too. But then we meet this guy. And this guy has some confusion in this comic over his name, which is great because in the real world there's been a great deal of confusion over his name.
What sort of confusion over his name?
Well, initially as a Marvel character, he was introduced in the mid-'60s as Ghost Rider.
But that's not Ghost Rider.
Well, so at the time it was Ghost Rider, and in fact he was based on another character called Ghost Rider that had been published 20 years earlier by a different company but drawn by the same guy.
But then we got a different Ghost Rider.
And so when that Ghost Rider's exploits were reprinted in the early 70s, he was called the Knight Rider.
So who is this guy?
Well, then somebody realized that having a guy who's dressed all in white and called the Knight Rider, which was a name associated historically with the Ku Klux Klan, was not a good move. So he was once again renamed as the Phantom Rider.
The Phantom Rider.
Yes, this is the Phantom Rider.
That seems right.
Yes. Phantom Rider, he's back in Journey to Mystery.
Along with a whole lot of other of our favorite Old West Marvel pals. Because, hey, did you know Marvel used to publish Western comics?
So many Western comics, like a dozen a month.
Anyway.
Yeah. Journey to Mystery.
It's keyed in.
It's keyed in. I want the McElroys to write so many comics.
Yes, please.
This made us so happy. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.